Okay. So the first thing is that before we learn about SDLCs and their Agile Scrum model details, let's identify who is BA, the primary responsibilities of BA, and the secondary responsibilities of BA in Agile model. Okay. So first of all, let's type who is BA. Okay. So anyone here can guess who is BA? So what do you think of BA? Team, any guess? Yes, change enabler. Simple terms. Yes. Okay. So a BA is none other than the person who will be acting as a bridge between stakeholders and development team. Okay. So we know who is BA, right? So now let's see what is his responsibilities. What is BA primary responsibilities? So team, what do you think of his primary responsibilities can be? So we know the basic responsibility is requirement gathering, right? Process reengineering, ownership of a requirement, yes, and elicitation. Elicitation. Yes, exactly. Process reengineering, taking ownership of a requirement. Okay. And how many of you here know that requirement gathering is not equals to requirement elicitation? So can you anyone guess what is the difference between requirement gathering and requirement elicitation? Team, any idea? What is the difference between gathering and elicitation? Okay. What about others? Yes. Okay. See, the difference is that requirement gathering and requirement elicitation is requirement gathering means you will be gathering the requirement that is already available for you. It can be documentation. It already available in the documents. It might be available in the internet or research papers, etc. Okay. But requirement elicitation is means the data is not available, but you need to discover them by asking few questions. Okay. So requirement elicitation in the sense it is not there for you to directly note it down. They are they will get to you only when you start asking questions to the right person. Okay. So and in requirement elicitation part, then you will get elicitation techniques. Elicitation techniques, right? Like brainstorming, JAD, interviews, so etc. Okay. So this is the difference between requirement gathering and requirement analysis. And after that, so let's see what is the responsibility. Okay, not responsibility. So as of now, you just understand who is BA, what is his prime responsibilities and requirement in gathering difference versus requirement elicitation. Okay, and how many of you know what is SDLC? How many of you know what is SDLC? So what do you know about it, team? Any guesses? Yeah, not the abbreviation, but what actually this development life cycle means. So I'm seeing everyone messages, so don't worry. And one more thing, please don't copy and paste the answers from the internet or ChatGPT. Okay. So try to be interactive, answer in your own words. So don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Yes. Good. So simply, if I have to say in simple manner, it is just a process used to develop a software application from idea stage to working software. Am I right? Am I right, team? Can we say that SDLC is a process, right? Yeah. So the software what you are trying to develop, it is not there, but you have that idea. Based on that idea, you are working forward to get a working software. Okay. So inside SDLC, we have things like models versus methodologies. Okay. So what is this methodologies and what is this models? So methodologies are, these are protocols or rules we need to follow to get, just a minute. Let me minimize the screen. Okay. Follow to get the project done. Okay. And coming to models, these are the subset of methodologies where we use to complete our project. And these models use their respective methodologies rules. Okay. So let me say it's protocol. So what I mean here is that we have sequential model, sorry, sequential methodology. For that, we have waterfall model and V model, right? And we have agile methodology, agile methodology, and we have Scrum, Scrum model, Kanban, and extreme XP model. Okay. So let me, right. Okay. So, so what does this model means? What does this methodology means? Okay. So methodologies are nothing but they are set of guidelines. Okay. They are just the set of guidelines where we just know how to work with that methodology. Coming to models, these models will actually follow those guidelines, their respective guidelines, and then we can work with our project. Okay. So simple example will be our sequential methodology. So sequential methodology guideline is to be linear. Okay. So this is the simple guideline. So the guideline is be a linear approach. Let me write it as approach. Okay. And this waterfall follow this linear approach through the stages called requirement gathering, requirement analysis, system design, development, testing, right? So now waterfall has these phases, but these phases are followed in the linear approach by the rule of sequential methodology. Okay, so that's why without completing one stage of waterfall, we are not able to move to the next stage. Okay, and coming to agile methodology, this is iterative approach. Okay, so it is an iterative approach, which means we can follow that quick iterative approach for the remaining stages of Scrum. Okay, so it can be incremental and iterative approach. So Scrum model follows sprint. Sprint. So Agile methodology says incremental and iterative approach means build small sizes or build bits wise software and then combine them together whenever they are ready to work with. Okay, so this sprint is nothing but a time box event. Okay, time box event. It lasts for 1 to 4 weeks. Okay, so this is the SDLC and the difference between methodologies and models under SDLC, and the one we are seeing agile methodology and Scrum model. Okay, so now let's see what is this Scrum. Okay, so let me so here let's say Scrum. Sorry. So Scrum is a framework through which we build the software product by following agile principles. Okay, and here see you might get confused with frameworks, methodologies, models. Okay, so while you are learning in the theory part, they are different. They are different in the terms like methodology, models, and framework. But when you enter into the corporate world, people don't give that much importance to these three words. Okay, they will use them randomly. Some might think, some might say, we will going with agile model. Some might think we are working with waterfall methodology. Okay, so don't worry if they are mixing up the names. But for us to understand the theoretical manner, a framework is nothing but a model. Okay, if you can say Scrum model or you can say Scrum framework. There is no difference between them. Only thing is that it is a structured approach. That's all. Okay, so we understood this sprint. So what will be there inside a sprint? Okay, so sorry, we understood a Scrum, right? What will have inside a Scrum? So we will be having a sprint. A sprint is nothing but 1 to 4 weeks of time. Okay, a sprint is nothing but 1 to 4 weeks of time. So what they do means they will divide the project lines into a sprints based on the project size, and each sprint is dedicated for one software uh, item or what we say piece of software. Okay, so in that particular sprint of time, they need to develop that particular piece of software. So it can be multiple sprints. They can have multiple sprints based on the project size and the roles in this Scrum. Roles in the Scrum. Okay. Yeah, futures. Exactly. We can develop futures in the sprint. Okay. And roles in the Scrum is nothing but we have product owner, we have BA, we have Scrum Master, master, and then dev team and testers. Okay. So these are the theoretical way, but in real time, you might don't have BA in this agile thing because if the organization is okay to have two persons to interact with the client, then they have two different roles. If not, if it is a small organization, the PO and the BA responsibilities will merge together. Okay. So these are the roles that we are having in a sprint. So let's see what are they doing. The project manager or the product owner, both kind of similar responsibilities. So product owner is the one who will interact with the client and he will be gathering the requirements. Okay. And those requirements again need to be finalized or need to be uh, cleaned or clarified by the BA. And then they will create a structured format which is called user story. With that user story, they start working inside the sprint when then they will be creating a working software or a future. Okay. And the scrum master is nothing but he is kind of a head of the team or a coach of a team. So under him, we have dev team and the testers or a QA team. He will be looking into these two teams performance and helping them to follow the agile principles and developing the futures based on the timeline without any disturbances in the flow of the work. Okay. And that is the work of scrum team. And development team is nothing but developing the futures, and testers are the one who will be testing the thing. Okay. And then we have most important thing is ceremonies. Okay. Or meetings. So we have things like sprint planning meeting. We have, okay, I will write here itself, daily stand-up meeting, sprint review meeting, and sprint retrospective meeting. Okay. So let's discuss about these meetings one by one. Sprint planning meeting. So this is the first meeting that will be held in the sprint, which is one or 2 weeks of time. So this meeting is when we are ready to start our sprint, we will conduct this meeting to analyze what futures we need to work on. Okay. So we will be knowing what futures to work on. Sprint is nothing but a time box event. Okay. So they will be having some fixed timing. Maybe a sprint can be 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks. Based on the project size, they fixed a time for that sprint. And within that sprint, they start to develop a future. Okay. Right. And then, yeah, in the sprint planning meeting is that they will plan the upcoming sprint, what futures they have to work on. Okay. And are they ready to work on? So those kinds of things will be happen in this planning meeting. And this daily stand-up meeting is nothing but, so each day in the sprint, they have at least 15 minutes of time where they will come up and say what they worked on yesterday, what they are working today, and are there impediments they are facing. Impediments in the sense are there any issues they are facing. So this daily stand-up meeting will let us know does team is facing any issues, so that issues can be rectified by the scrum master. Okay. And sprint review meeting. So sprint review meeting is nothing but, so once that sprint is completed, once that 2 weeks of time is completed, a future is been developed. That future will be taken to stakeholder where he will be reviewing that future, and if there are any updates or feedbacks, then he will giving those feedbacks and we again work on those things. Okay. So that is called sprint review meeting. And sprint retrospective meeting is internal meeting where we will be identifying what problems we faced along that sprint. Okay. So there won't be any outsiders in the sprint retrospective meeting. The invites will be your team members and your project manager, product owner, and your business analyst and scrum master. Stakeholder won't be in this meeting. So this meeting is conducted only to understand are they are facing any issues in the previous sprint. If so, they will collect all those issues and make sure those issues are not repeated once again in the next sprint. Okay. And coming to the artifacts of Scrum. Okay. So we have, just a minute, we have product backlog. We have sprint backlog and impediment log. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, these are the artifacts of the Scrum. Okay. And so the BA role, exactly to be specific in this sprint, is making sure that whatever features that developers developing are they are aligning with the business goals or business rules. Okay. So that is the most important BA role in a sprint. Okay. And coming to artifacts of the Scrum. So we have product backlog. So what does this product backlog means? So to develop a future or to develop a product software, we need some information, right? So we need some documents in waterfall. If it is a document in Agile or Scrum, we call it as a user story. Okay. So user story is nothing but a piece of requirement that a user want to achieve, and that user stories are collected together and placed in a backlog called product backlog. So this product backlog contains all the list of requirements for the product. And then we have sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is nothing but it is a subset of product backlog which will contain only uh, requirements or the only user stories that is specific to that sprint. Okay, if they are doing a sprint one, then that sprint backlog contains only the user stories that are required for that sprint to complete. Okay, and we have impediment log. So in retrospective meeting, we find that if they faced any issues, we will be noting it down, right? So those things will be logged into this impediment log, which is overseen by the Scrum Master, and he has the responsibility to resolve those issues. Okay. So remember that Scrum Master will be working with the Scrum team. It is like development team and testers. His main duty is to make the team follow Agile principles and resolve the issues between the team members or the issues they are facing on the resources or anything. Okay. And product owner is the one who will be interacting with the client, gathering the requirements. BA is the one who is the middle, clarifying the requirements for the development team and making sure that the product they are building is aligning with the business needs. Okay. So to get the entire life cycle, let me show you. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So the entire process in the sprint can be seen here. Okay. So let's discuss about this diagram, and this PPT is already available in your COPD student portal under document section. Okay. So see, first thing is that our product owner. Okay. So product owner will be getting the futures or the getting the user stories, what we say, from the clients. He will be getting the requirements, and that requirements will be transferred into the product backlog. Okay. And now in sprint planning meeting, before a sprint, which is typically 2 weeks of time, before the sprint is started, there will be a sprint planning meeting, and here team will fix the sprint time and fix what user stories should be worked on. So they will be moving, like the product owner will be suggesting what user stories they need to move to the sprint backlog. Okay. So now here they start their sprint and they keep on working, and you can see while they are working, there is a daily stand-up meeting, which is a 15 minutes of time, and there is a product backlog refinement, and finally there is a potential shippable product increment. So it is nothing but after sprint is completed, you got the shippable product, which is ready for review. And then you doing sprint review. And then finally you have sprint retrospective meeting. Okay. So here the product backlog refinement means, so we know, right, what is a refinement, right? We keep on refining a product, right? So product backlog refinement means, so this list of user stories are created maybe at the starting of the project, right? So in the after 2 weeks of time, there might be new changes in the list. There might be new feedbacks that came from review part. Okay, there might be new feedback that came from review part, or they find bugs that is very major, need to be resolved straight away. So there are a lot of things. All those things again move to product backlog, and we need to keep on refining them so that we will be on up to date. So what to develop for that sprint. Okay, so that's why we have product backlog refinement. Okay, and now, so for you to visually see what a user story will look like, I'm gonna show you. Okay, the format of user story as a user. Here we will be talking about role. I want to log in. Here we are talking about need, so that I can purchase something. Talking about benefit or result. Okay. So your typical user story will look like this, not the point wise, but they will be writing in this manner. So they will be creating a small sticky notes kind of thing and writing down as a user, I want to do something so that I can get this. So here the role will be keep on changing. It's not like the user story should always have a user. In the place of that, you can have admin or manufacturer. So it's up to you who you are uh, thinking while you are creating that user story. Okay, the point of view depends upon the role here. Okay, and then what they want to achieve, and once they got achieved, what they can do. Okay, so that is a user story. And for each user story, okay, for each user story, there is an acceptance criteria, story points, and BV values. Okay, we can call story points as complexity points. Okay, so acceptance criteria is nothing but these are the conditions we placed on user story so that we know whether a user story is definitely done and testable or not. Okay. No, see, it's not like always. Okay, see. So I got a question from one of you team. Let's say you are creating our LMS portal itself. Okay, remember our COPD, right? COPD portal has users like students, employees. Okay, and who else we have? We have admin who oversees the everything, and we have uh, evaluators, and we have HR team. Okay, so these are all the users for this portal. Okay, so while you are try to creating, yeah, we will discuss about SP and BV. So while we are trying to creating the COPD portal, what we do, we will assume what each of them want. So I will write a user story by thinking student point of view. As a student, I want to log in so that I can book my slot. Okay. So this is a user story, a piece of requirement, which means we are talking about student that he need to have a login page and he need to book a slot. And now let's say we are talking about evaluator. Okay. So if we are talking about evaluator, he needs to be logged in so that he can evaluate the slot. Okay, he can evaluate the slot. So here, so the user stories are created by assuming them what they needed for the software. Okay, so it is not the finalized user story. After a few rounds of sprints, after few some time, there might be new requirement saying that there is no need of login future for evaluator. So at that time you can refine once again. So the base concept is that each user story will be prepared by us only, by product owner himself, and with the help of business analyst. But the roles will be just for assuming and what they needed for that application. Okay. Team, is it clear like how the user story is working? Hello. Okay, right. And one more thing. Yeah, I got one more question from you. See, you might have this question in your mind, sir, without knowing what to build, without knowing what they want from the client, how can we start creating user stories? Right? I hope most of you have that question. So this is where you come by product vision document. Okay. So just like our BRD, okay, just like our BRD, which contains all the requirements, this product vision document will be given by the client, given by the client, okay, or some cases, PO and client sit together, PO in the sense product owner, okay, sit together to refine the product vision document. Okay. So this document, once the document is structuredly enough to give, then this document is passed to a development team or the BA, and this document contains why this project started, what problems does it solving, who are target audience. So target audience in the sense of the roles, you can think of them as a roles. Okay. Okay. And then finally, the product vision document, uh, what is the benefit of developing it? Okay. Benefiting of developing that future. So this is a product vision document which will be sharing initially before you actually start the sprint itself. Actually, you create user stories itself. Okay. So by looking into product vision document, you will get an idea what kind of software you are trying to create. And based on that, people will sit together like business owners. Okay. People's like business owners, POs, BAs sit together to create user stories. Okay. And now coming to this acceptance criteria and remaining things, acceptance criteria are nothing but conditions. Okay. So these are the conditions we placed upon the user stories just to make sure that user story is completely done with uh, with the chance of testing that user story. Okay. So an example will be, let's say there is an example, maybe as a user, I want to log in so that I can purchase. Sorry, as a user, I want to log in so that I can purchase something, right? So the conditions for this can be uh, there should be login fields with email and password within 2 seconds. a OTP needs to send to email. Okay. And after login, user need to move to dashboard. Okay. So right now you can see for that login purpose, these are the conditions we can think of. And by looking into these conditions, we can verify whether the user story completed successfully or not. Okay. So let's say they created the login feature. Right now they can, we just use email ID and password and log in into the application. But to check it whether it is completed perfectly or not, if you follow these rules, you will go by one. So let's say while I'm logging, did my OTP received within 5 seconds or 2 seconds as per the condition or not? After I log in, am I directly moving to dashboard or I need to click any few buttons? So these are all the conditions we have. Whether when all these conditions are passed, then we know that user story is completely done by the developer. Okay. And then we have SP and CP. So SP is story points, CP is complexity points. Both are similar. So these points are given by the developers. These points are given by the developers for the user story. And these points will tell us how much efforts it needed, the user story needed to develop. Okay. So developers know how much time and efforts it is needed for that future to develop, right? So these values will be given by the developers. And the values for this will be, okay, and the values will be Fibonacci series with 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on. Okay. So these are the values. They just give it to the user story. And based on these numbers, they can say how much efforts required to create this requirement. Okay. So maybe for login, let's say I'm a developer. Okay. So it is a login feature and it is very simple. So let's say, let me give the story point as a 2. So that means this feature has the efforts of 2. Okay. And if someone says, if we are talking about some AI integration, then people can give 8 or 5 based on the complexity. Okay. And then we have BV values. BV values are given by the business owners or or PO with collaboration of PO. Okay. So business owners can give the business value, or else, just a minute. See, AC means acceptance criteria, just a short form it, and it is related to user story. Okay, ACs are nothing. Acceptance criteria itself is a condition we placed on user story. Okay, and yeah, coming to this BV, business value thing. So business value will be given by the business owner or the product owner with the help of BO to a user story. So the values will tell us how important that user story for the business in terms of revenue or in terms of financial value. Okay. And the example will be our $100 technique. Dollars technique. Okay. So here we use fake notes or the custom made notes like 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, and 500. Okay. So whatever the existing nodes are available in the like outside of this, like real time in the society, we will use those numbers to determine the BV value. So higher the number, higher the impact of user story on the business in terms of financial or economical. Okay. So that is BV and CP value. Okay, team. So, so that is all there is for Agile and the Scrum in the theory session. If you are having any doubts regarding user stories, BV, CPs, or any other details on the artifacts, ceremonies, roles and responsibilities, please state your doubt in the chat box. Once we resolve all the doubts, then only we will move to JIRA tool. Okay, in the JIRA tool, you will lively see how a user story will be prepared, how acceptance criteria will be written, and how reports and charts can be seen. Okay, so come on, team. If you have any doubts, please write it down in the chat box. Okay, so yeah, first question will be, please explain the $100 technique, how it works. Okay, see, when a user story is created, okay, and there are bunch of user stories, right? So maybe hundreds or fifties, thousands of user stories, and we need to know which one is very important to work on and which one can wait. Okay, so for that to have, we need some numbers, we need some identifiers to say which is high important. Okay, so this $100 technique will be used by the business owners with the help of product owner. They will assigning some values like 10, 20, 30, 50. So not 30, 10, 20, 50, 100, the currency values that we are having in our real world. Okay. So these currency numbers will let the developers or business analyst knows how important that user story for the business of that client. Okay. So let's say there is a food ordering software. Let's say we are the development team. We are developing a Zomato app. Okay. So for the Zomato app, uh, the the future like a restaurant being able to register themselves into the app is very much important because the whole concept is food delivery, right? So that future, that user story will have maybe the value of 500, so that we can when we see that future with the value of 500, we can understand, okay, this future is very important for the business in terms of revenue. Okay, so that's how the $100 techniques will be helpful for us to decide which is very important for the business. Okay, so here business in the sense uh, the stakeholder business. Yes, priority. Yes, in Jira tool you can set a priority, and that will also act as a $100 technique. Okay, and then so we are talking about ceremonies, right? Okay, just give me 1 minute, team. Yeah, coming to Scrum ceremonies. So we have sprint planning meeting, which is conducted before a sprint is started. So in this sprint planning meeting, they will be deciding what user stories should be worked on the upcoming sprint. Okay. And coming to sprint daily stand-up meeting, in the daily stand-up meeting, they will be announcing themselves what they worked on yesterday, what they're working today, and what problems they have faced. So that Scrum Master will know each day by day what issues they are facing and what is the progress of the project. And then we have a sprint review meeting, where at the end of these 2 weeks of time, they move that working future to a stakeholder for a review, and based on his feedback, whether we need to add a few things to it or not will be determined. Okay. And then we have sprint retrospective meeting. In the sprint retrospective meeting, uh, at the end of the sprint review and all, we will conduct one meeting for our internal team members with the Scrum team. And there we will be discussing about what challenges we faced in this entire sprint. So in that meeting, we will be noting down all those challenges and making sure those won't be repeating in next sprint. Okay, so these are the Scrum ceremonies. Okay, yeah. Coming to product vision document. See, so product vision document will be created by the clients in some cases. If they are not that much of technical, then a product owner or business analyst can collaborate with him and try to define a structured product vision document. Okay. So this product vision document is a kind of proof why we are starting this project. It contains information like why the project is started, what is the purpose of this project, what problems in the real world this project is solving, who are the target audience, and what benefit we achieve once we complete the project. So it contains all those things so that we have a proof why the project is started and what actually we are trying to build. Okay. So by looking into this product vision document, then we can get an understanding. So what are the futures a product should have, and what are the user stories that we can come up with. Okay. So and then after this is product vision document KT is completed, then we have a user story workshop. Okay. So inside user story workshop, team will come together with the stakeholder and product owner and remaining members, and they will start brainstorming and creating user stories. Okay. So that is how a product vision document is helpful. Product backlog and implement log. Okay. So see, once this user stories are created for entire product, those user stories will be moved to product backlog. So inside product backlog, you have bunch of user stories for the entire product, and we need to refine those product backlogs as time as needed. Okay. So because once you move the entire thing into product backlog, it after 1 week of time, after 2 weeks of time of a sprint, the new challenges may arise. Some of them have high priority and some of them have low priority at the initial stage. Then we need to refine the product backlog once again to make sure all the high priority things are on the top for the next sprint. Okay. And implement log is nothing but whatever challenges, blockages the team is facing, they will note it down all those things in this implement log, and the Scrum Master will be looking into it and trying to resolve those issues for the team. And then no, see, it's not like product vision document contains all the requirements, okay? Because while creating product vision document, you will have an initial idea what is this product about, but the requirements will be done or will be showcased in form of user stories. While creating your user stories, you will come up with all the specifications and all the requirements, okay? And yeah, user stories typically created by product owner with the help of business owner, okay? Yeah, business owner is nothing but client himself. We can call client as a business owner, stakeholder. So it all those things relevant to that other party. So right now I'm not showing any PPTs. I'm just resolving the queries the team members are having. Okay. Yes, the above thing is correct. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I hope that's all the questions. Shall we start with the tool, or still anyone has any doubts? Team, shall we start with the tool? Please respond. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you. So let me minimize this, and team, try to open Jira tool with me so that both of all of us can start working together. And for this PPT part, people who want this PPT, in the student portal under document section, click on documents. You will be seeing the Jira. Okay, so click on view, you will get that PPT. Okay, so let me close this, and okay, so here just type Jira, click on enter. Team, please do with me. You can see all these things together. Okay, so here you can see Jira issue and project tracking software. So Jira is a project management tool. Okay, you will be monetizing or monitoring all the project information together in this Jira. Okay, so once you click on, if you are already using Jira, you can get this thing. If not, you can go with another site. Okay, click on go to Jira, select project management. Okay, and then select the Scrum, and then you will be directly moving to this page. Okay, so team, please confirm, uh, have you gone to this page, like not exactly the example page but this interface? Have you gone to this page or not? Any issues on the Jira opening? Okay, let me do one thing. Let me start a new profile so it will be easy for us. Okay, so here type Jira. So here go to Jira issue and project tracking software, click on it. So here you have option to sign up, right? I think most of people are seeing this screen. Okay. So here click on sign up with email or else click on Google. Okay. And then sign it with your email address. Click on continue. Okay. And it will ask you to write your name. So just for COEPD, continue. So it is asking to create your site. It will give an example. So we'll just write as X. Click on continue. So it will take some time to launch. Okay. So now it will ask us to select what things you want to do in the Jira. So right now we are project management, right? Click on it. It will ask the model. Are you thinking about Kanban, Scrum, or what else? Click on Scrum. Click on continue. Select your project name. Let's say e-commerce. Click on get started. So you can see futures, task, story, bug, etc. Right? Select these things. Click on next. We don't need this idea in review. Click on finish. Okay. So I'm going to show you what those futures, bugs and everything. Before that, let's set up our JIRA account first. So it will take some time. In the meantime, please try to log in with your JIRA account. If you are unable to log in, it's okay. This session will be recording and it will be uploaded in this COPD YouTube channel. From there, you can access once again. Okay. So now you can see that I got same view, just like this example view. You can see I got same thing here, but the e-commerce name is different, right? So let me take this view and let me rename this e-commerce. E-commerce. Okay, right. So now if you see carefully, team, okay, here you have your backlog. So the one we are talking about, product backlog and sprint backlog, right? So this bottom thing is called product backlog. All the user stories you have created for that thing will be happen to have inside this, and whatever user stories you want to work with that particular sprint will move to here. Okay. And then we have board structure, which means it is a visual tracking where all the to-do list will be here. And once that to-do list is in progress, they will move to here. And then once it is done, they will move to review and then finally done stage. Okay. If you want, you can remove the part also. You can adjust these things based on your criteria. Okay. So for example purpose, let me create a few things together. Okay. So before we even create a few things, let me show you a thing called epic. Okay. You can see here epic, right? So what is an epic and what is a user story? So epic is nothing but a large body of work which cannot be done in a single sprint. Okay. So if a work is very large that cannot be done in a single sprint, then we call that work as an epic. Okay. So in case of that, you will break down the epic into smaller chunks, which is called user stories. Okay. So epic is nothing but a kind of requirement which cannot be done in a single sprint. So to create your epics or to create your user stories, all you need to do is click on this create option or else type this C. Okay. If you type C or else if you click on this create, you will get this pop-up. Okay. So for our example sake, not to being late, I'm already prepared a few epics and user stories. And based on that, you will understand how real time works. Okay. So our first epic is user registration and authentication. Okay. So this is an epic. So you can see that epic name, user registration and authentication. The entire process is cannot be done in a single sprint, because if you're talking about user registration, they have lots of things like user registration, user login, forgot password is a requirement, profile management is a requirement, logout is a requirement, right? So all those things are again extra features we need to develop in in this epic, which cannot be done in a single sprint. So let me paste it here. And here you can see work type, right? Click on future, select the epic. Now we are creating an epic. So here, click on summary, type your epic here. Okay. And then you can write your acceptance criteria here. Okay. In the description box, you can write your acceptance criteria, or else you can attach files also. Okay. Whatever wireframes or whatever prototypes you have been created, you can attach those links or images in this text box. Okay. And now Right now, Epic itself is a parent, so you can't see anything in the parent section. And reporter is Stark because this is I am the one who is creating. And finally, you can see the color code for this Epic. Okay. So let me click on create and see what happens. So now a Epic is been created. Okay. So to view an Epic, click on button E. Okay. So now you can see that we have created an Epic. And if you click on this drop down, you can see there is no work items inside this Epic. So let me take a user story. So this is user story for registration. So user story will be, as a visitor, I want to create a new account so that I can purchase and track my orders. So let me copy this and here click on this create. Right now we are talking about user stories, right? Change Epic to story. Okay. And the summary is the where you will type your user story. Okay. And now we need to write acceptance criteria. So I already prepared an acceptance criteria for that. So this is our acceptance criteria. Okay. So let me paste it over here and you can see for simple registration purpose, we need to make sure that forms accept valid name, email and password. Email must be unique. Duplicate should show an error. Password must be minimum strength rules and successful registration redirect to login page. Confirmation email sent to the user. So these are all the conditions that need to be met true to make sure this user story completed successfully. Okay, so now I think you got how an acceptance criteria will be looking for a user story. Okay, so I can give story points here itself. Here you can see, right, story point estimation. So let's say for user story, the story points is 5. Okay, and the priority, you can see the priority, right, is high. Okay, so for the registration thing, the priority is high. And then I need to select a parent. Okay, here in the parent section, you can see there is this epic. Click on the epic. Then now what happens is that this user story belongs to that epic. If I click on create now, you can see a story has been created and that is inside the backlog, but it is connected to this user registration epic. Okay, and you can see it's having a 5 story points and the priority is high and you can assign it to a developer. So how to assign it to a developer means you can click on this icon and there you can select the team members and automatically they will be getting a notification a user story has been assigned to you. Okay. So in the same manner, let's create few things. Let me create few user stories. So this time we are talking about login. Okay, and acceptance criteria will be this. Okay, and it is high. Story will be epic. Sorry, parent will be our first epic, and story points will be 3. And then click on create. So once you click on create, because I selected this create another checkbox, so that's why it won't remove this pop-up. So I can copy and paste remaining things. Okay. So let me copy remaining things. Forgot password. And let me close this. Acceptance criteria. Okay. And let's make it is medium. Let's make it 3 and select the parent, which is already selected, Scrum. Okay. And then click on create. Now we have created 3 user stories under a epic. This time we will try to create another epic. Okay. So this epic will be product browsing and search. So to create an epic, you just need to simply change work type to epic and type your summary here. Okay. Just click on change this color. Okay. Right now, the epic one is already having the purple, right? To visual distinction or visual changes, change the color and then create another epic. So for that epic, let's create another user story. Okay. So simply change epic to story. Here, let me paste. This is not right. Just a minute. Let me copy once again here, and acceptance criteria will be this. Okay. So now let's make it high. Parent will be our second epic. So product browsing and search epic. Okay. So story points can be maybe 5. Okay. And then click on create. Okay. And then let's create one more uh, user story. Okay. And one more acceptance criteria. Make it as medium and select the parent. It is already selected. And let's make it as 3. Click on create. So this time let's create one bug. Okay. So to create a bug, you just need to select bug and you can type something like forgot not. We are talking about, yeah, forgot password is not working. Okay. And then select the parent. Parent will be this one, right? And then story point estimation, maybe 3. Click on create. So in this manner, you can create your epics, bugs, user stories. So whatever that product is needed. Let me cancel this and discard and refresh your page once again. You can see all the things we have created here. Okay, you can see this icon called bug. You can see user story icons and you can see 2 epics. If you drop it, you can see all the details of that particular epic. Okay, so these are all the child work items for that epic. Just give me 1 minute, team. So right now we are creating user stories, bugs, epics, uh, but we need to start a sprint. Okay, so once you got all those things, then only you can start a sprint. So let me close this epics. Okay, and here you can see an option called create sprint, right? or if you click on create sprint, a sprint will be created and you can see this on the top. Okay, so here you already see Scrum sprint 1 is already is already created. So let me delete this. So now there is no sprint. So now I will create a sprint, and now the sprint is created. All I have to do is select the items. Okay, select the items what I have, what our team want to work on that particular sprint, and pull them towards the sprint backlog. Okay, so now you can see there are total 14 story points worth of work for a sprint one. Okay, so now click on start sprint to start this sprint. It will ask you to select the duration. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and custom also. For example purpose, I'm going with custom, and let's make it as so I'm trying to, so it is 12:21 p.m. right? So the reason why I'm selecting this short duration for a sprint, because uh, the higher the duration, the graph cannot be that much visually readable. Okay, so write your sprint goal here. So our goal is to sprint one goal is to develop functioning user registration module. Okay, so this is our sprint one goal. Okay, so let me click on start. Now the sprint is officially started, and you can see the backlog has been started and all the work items that need to be worked on has moved to to-do list. Okay, so now what happens? So in the real time, what happens in the sense, whoever assigned to that particular user story, when they are starting to work on them, they will move them towards the in progress stage. Okay, they will move them towards the in progression state. So after some time is completed, after maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 days, if they think that this user story has been completed, then after the QA team has tested, then they will move to this done stage. Okay, so they will move to this done stage. So now you can see whenever I moved to it at done stage, you can see the Scrum 6 has been crossed out, and that means we have completed this user story functionality. And again, we can move multiple user stories at the same time. Okay, and whoever got assigned to them will work on them and move to them done stage. Okay, and if you come to backlog page, you can see, if I refresh the page, you can see that on the top, 3 story points are in still to work, 3 story points are in progress, and the remaining 8 are completed. So to create a sprint, all you need to click on this create sprint. Once you do that, this sprint one will be created. Select these checkboxes and drag them towards that upper sprint. Okay, and then click on start sprint. Your sprint will be getting started. All those things will be moved to this backlog. So this board. Okay, and now let me move these things here. Finally done to stage. So once I moved everything, I have this complete sprint option. So let me click on complete sprint. So it is asking you to complete this sprint or not. So I want to, so click complete sprint. So now the sprint has been completed. So again, in the next sprint, we click on create sprint again. Sprint 2 is already created, right? Okay, let me delete this one. Sprint 2 is already created. So all you need to do is select the backlog and move the remaining things to in the next sprint. Okay. So click on start sprint, select the start date, write the goal. Okay. Click on start. Your next sprint will be starting and the same procedure will be happen. Okay. So how to check what is the progress and what is the flow of the project. Okay. So for that to do, we have an option called reports. Click on that. Here you can see burn up reports, sprint burndown charts, velocity reports and all. So sprint burndown chart is nothing but it will show us how much remaining work has been left in the sprint. So in the entire sprint, 2 weeks of time, how much work has been left. And sprint burndown chart will, burn up chart will show us how much work has been completed. Okay. So if I click on sprint burndown chart and if I click on sprint one, you can see there is these red lines, right? So these red lines are nothing but these are these user stories that we have completed. And as a sprint burndown chart, once it reaches to zero line, zero x-axis, it means all the items has been completed successfully. Okay, so I will show you how to read this sprint burndown chart. So when you started your sprint, you have total story points, right? So my case, I have total story points of 14. So if I place my cursor, you can see the starting red point having story points 14, right? So when a developer or a tester move a user story to done stage, then depending upon this worth of story point, the graph will falls down. Okay. So right now I am at this 14, right? Let's say I have moved a user story worth of 4 into the done stage, then the graph will falls down to 10. Okay. And if I moved user story worth of 2, then the graph will falls down to 8. So like that, the story points will be directed towards the graph until it reaches the zero path. Okay. So right now you can see it is started with 14, and again we completed 5 story points worth of user story, and we completed 3 completed 3. So and finally we reached 0 point, which means there is no work to left. If you move down, you can see exactly what and at what time we have, what is the story points worth and how we are completed these things. Okay. And if you move to burn up chart, same flow will be seen, but the difference is the graph will be moving upwards rather than downwards. It is moving upwards. So if you can see, we started with 0 because sprint burn up chart will shows us completed work, right? So we will start with 0. We completed 5 story points first. We completed 3 story points next. We completed 3 next, and then we completed 4 next. So total 14 story points are completed, and it reached total story points count. So this is how you will read your sprint burn up and burn down chart. Okay. And we have velocity report. Just in case to know how to read the velocity report means, see, velocity report is for just to get an idea how much efficient our team in a sprint. Okay. So right now, if you see, if I place my cursor, you can see the committed story point worth is 14 and the completed story point worth is 14. So by looking into this, I can assume whether my team is up to the mark, whether they complete all the committed work or not. So if they are completing all the committed work in the coming next sprint, I can increase the difficulty by adding 2 more user stories to their work. If they are not even completing their committed work also, then I have to adjust the number of user stories based on the flow. Okay, so that is how this velocity chart will be helpful for us to identify the efficiency of the team. Okay, so right now you are not seeing exact sprint burn up and burn down charts because the timeline is very slow, what we say, short. Like within seconds we have created user stories, within seconds we make it as a done. So that's why everything has been done in a single minute. So if you take time, the graph will flows like this. Okay, like this it will flows based on the time you have taken to complete. Okay, team. So that's all for the Jira session. If you have any doubts, please speak up. Like in the sense, please text me in the chat.